has gone so low, people still need to feed.
Yes, people have to feed, but they have to feed and they must visit market.
The general belief is that one has to graduate first before going to serve.
When it comes to certificates, you know that we have a lot of problems.
On ITV's breakfast show, this morning on ITV, showing from Mondays to Thursdays at this time.
It is still this morning on ITV, bringing us to the first discussion segment. And as usual, every Monday morning, the discussion, usually we begin it with the aviation, of course, where we look at the happenings in and around the aviation locally and internationally. And to do that, today our focus will be on the environmental impact of aviation. And that will be done by, of course, the profile of the aviation freak showing on your screen, a man who has touched so many what do you call it now, so many lands, foreign lands, when it comes to the issue of aviation program and event, is Mr. Goddy Ike. He also doubles as a licensed estate surveyor and valuer. Very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Joe. How are you today?
I'm okay.
And how was your weekend?
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay. Oh, wonderful,
yes.
as always. Well, thank God.
Yeah, quickly,
Right.
we'll look at what we have at hand, which is environmental impact of aviation. But before we do
Part three.
Before we do that, a report making the round that Arik Air has sued the federal government and Ethiopian airline for the planned takeover of its airline. You know, last week I asked what I thought when it comes to that issue, taking over of Arik by Ethiopian airline, and you describe it as something that is very, very shameful. Now Arik has gone to court. What are your thoughts?
Joe, unfortunately, the legal situation here, you know, as soon as you get the knowledge that it's been taken to court, it bars you from, you know, discussing the pros and cons and all the issues concerning such a matter. As a matter of fact, the lawyers will say that it's sub judice, and once that is the status of the situation, you are expected to shut up and allow the courts to take a look and make a very dispassionate decision. I mean, one way or the other. I had made my comment as far as my opinion was concerned last week, and I said it was shameful. And he gave the impression that we were not people to be trusted with serious-minded activities such as aviation. I've always made this clear to anyone that listens to me. Aviation is not for jokers. Aviation worldwide is a business for very serious-minded people. Unfortunately, we've gone on in a way that has brought this kind of shameful situation, you know, hitting us at our faces. But we'll see how it goes. Now that the matter is in court, we'll all shut up and wait and see what the courts will say, and then take it from there. And until that happens, I don't think anybody can do any much at it, or say any more at this time.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's okay. That's your view.
Yeah,
now
that's
let's
right.
hit the ball rolling. Let's start with what we have today, environmental impact of aviation. Now, it's part 3 of that topic. We started it 2 weeks ago.
That's correct.
Let's start with the first clip. Let's have the first clip.
Clip 1. Here we go, Joe. We're looking at effects of climate change on aviation. Excuse me. Last week, we saw a few tips on how we can reduce the impact of aviation on our environment. We shall continue this series by taking a look at effects of climate change on aviation. Recall that aviation activities pollute our environment, just as we already heard last week, and in the process change our climate. Ironically, Climate change also impacts on aviation in the following ways. Number one, it increases turbulence. Two, it contributes to aircraft noise. Three, it pollutes our water. Four, air quality is reduced due to emission of lead. And five, it exposes us to radiation. We're going to take this.
Radiation can cause cancer.
Well, that's what the doctors say. What can I say about that? Whatever the experts tell us, we'll accept and hope that we do what is right and stay healthy and alive. So that's about that. If we get to clip 2, we'll quickly get on with our business of the day. We're there, Joe. Right. We're starting with increased turbulence. One of the world's topmost science journals, Nature Climate Change, once published a report indicating that increasing carbon dioxide, or CO2, levels will result in increase in in-flight turbulence experienced by transatlantic flights by the middle of the 21st century. We're already there, aren't we? Right. Paul Williams, a researcher at the National Center for Atmospheric Science, University of Reading, and lead author, stated that air turbulence does more than just interrupt the service of in-flight drinks. It also injures hundreds of passengers and aircrew every year. Furthermore, it causes delay and damage to airplanes. May we go to clip 3, please? And we'll look at...
I think all the time we dwelled on air turbulence.
That's correct.
And,
very comprehensively and exhaustively, yes, we did.
It causes injury to passengers and all whatnot. But it appears that for now, beside the use of the seat belt, there's no technology that has been designed to, reduce the rate of injury.
Joe, there's no technology available anywhere to control weather. That's why it is said to be very treacherous. You can't predict what it's going to do at any point in time. But there is technology to monitor what the weather will be doing where. That explains why Americans will sit in their, in their monitoring room and inform, Americans about tornado and, other such natural activities. And so, recently, or rather even currently, they are dealing with Hurricane Irma. The mere fact that they are able to say to Americans, listen, this is heading at so and so speed to this direction, and it's expected to make a landfall at so and so time in so and so area, that is fantastic. That is good enough. You get early warning, and you are expected to make the necessary move to save your life and pick up a few things that are important to you and let nature take its course, because there is no technology to stop nature. So in the same fashion, Joe, there's no technology to stop turbulence in the skies, but we will be happy to have better technology that can tell pilots on board that so miles from this point and this direction, you're going to...
That's what I'm talking about.
That's correct. I can tell you, serious-minded people are working around the clock, Joe, to... last week, you saw some of the studies that I read out about, people working to resolve one issue or the other concerning aviation. In the same fashion, I tell you, Joe, serious-minded people around the world are working. And until they make a result and bring it to the fore, we would not know that things like that are going on. People are receiving grants from very serious-minded governments around the world and researching and getting results. And that's what one of the things we are promoting through this program, calling attention to our own administration that we should look for our bright heads and bright minds and people who have got one initiative or the other, and give them grants to develop them.
Yeah,
and
when it comes to that kind of issue in our own climb, we still have a long way to go because of the presence of corruption.
Well, I must tell you, Joe, this corruption song is being oversung in this country. There's corruption virtually everywhere in the world. The only difference is that ours, goes on with extreme impunity and lawlessness. Elsewhere, people practice acts of corruption with a lot of caution, and do it so technically that it's difficult to detect. But whenever it's detected, the law must take its course. That is unlike what's going on in this place, where people do things with extreme impunity and walk away and turn around. Anyway, that's government is doing its best at the moment, but let's hope they do it better. Yes. Clip 3, please. Clip 3. Here we go, Joe. Aircraft noise. As this is noise pollution produced by any aircraft or its components during various phases of a flight. The flight phases that generate noise include: 1, while parked on the ground, usually from auxiliary power units. You remember when I was teaching you about jet engines, I mentioned to you about APU, the auxiliary power unit that you need to kickstart the engines by pumping in air. You can also use it to generate electricity to run small services inside the airplane when it's standing on the ground. That's the auxiliary power unit for you. It makes its own noise. Now, number 2 is while taxiing, usually from propeller and jet exhaust. That's already known to you. Then during takeoff, those are also as a result of propeller and jet exhaust. Then number 4 is underneath departures and arrival parts. Of course, propellers and jet exhausts, are quite noisy over those areas until they get very high into the skies, when the sound will begin to dissipate. Now, number 5, overflying while en route. They create noise. I'm sure when airplanes are doing their intercontinental flights and they are flying over Abuja, you hear them humming across. That's noise. But even though it's reduced because of the height of
it's polluted environment.
That's correct. It's a polluted environment. The number 6, during landing. Of course, you know that as airplane is coming down to land, is overflying homes, coming as slow as you're going to see one of the photographs of caught near Heathrow, where an airplane was heading down to landing, and how close it was over people's roofs. And you can imagine what the kind of sound.
I talked about that too.
That's why I'm going to show it to you today.
Especially the one in Lagos.
That's correct.
It's a bit, scary.
It is. But
you're
that's
coming down and you feel as if the plane is going to land on
then
houses.
And then, Joe, again, apart from overflying people's houses during landing, on touchdown, in order for this awesome machine to stop within the limit of the runway, the pilots will have to engage the reverse thrust. It's called thrust reverser. Which is usually, depending on the model of the aircraft, attached as a lever on the throttle. As you touch down, you pull your power all the way to ground zero, and then pull up your auxiliary. What it does is that it reverses the thrust that force that is taking you to act as if it's taking the airplane backwards so that it will contain the momentum of the aircraft and enable the mechanical brakes to stop the aircraft. Of course, defining momentum is velocity, multiplied by distance. So that's what you call momentum of, weight. Velocity multiplied by the weight of the, so it tells you what force that thing is steering away with. In order to contain that momentum, you need a reverse thrust, and then the mechanical brakes can then help and stop the aircraft. That reverse thrust is noisy. That's the noise you hear when jet engines touch down. You hear some very loud noise that lasts a few seconds and then stop.
Is it true that those that work especially in their duty post, their beat is in the wrong way?
Sorry?
Those that work in airport, especially the ones that their duty post is in the wrong way.
Okay.
Air traffic and all of that.
That's right.
They,
taking a lot of those noise.
Almost every
That's why, that's why.
Is it true that there will come a time whereby they will find it difficult to hear?
Yes, it's part of what we're going to be looking at today, and that's why again in most foreign airports you notice that people who work in those kind of environments have some ear protection gear that they wear, and some of them act double as communication gadgets, but more importantly those things are supposed to guard against noise destroying their ears. But I don't know if we're doing the same here. I haven't noticed anybody or any of those individuals.
We'll find out.
You see, we've got to get serious, Joe, and we have to take ourselves, seriously. We need to show concern for our own health and the health of those who are giving us services And Joe, it's not about money. I keep saying this. We've got all the money to be the best that we can. It's about attitude. May God help us change. Let's move on. Let's move on. Clip 4, please. Aircraft noise. How sounds are produced. Now listen to this, Joe. Jet engines and propellers produce sound by causing compression and rarefaction. Now I'm going to explain that word to you. Of the air, which produce motion of air molecules. These movements operate in the air as pressure waves. If these pressure waves get strong enough to attain the audible frequency spectrum, a sensation of hearing is produced. Aircraft types differ in their noise levels and frequencies. Their noise originates from 3 main sources. And we're going to be looking at these 3 main sources of generation of noise by aircraft. Aerodynamic noise. Number 2 is engine and other mechanical noise. Number 3, noise from aircraft systems. Let's run quickly to clip 5. Time is usually not our friend here, but we're going to see how we will help ourselves. Aerodynamic noise. This arises from the airflow around the aircraft fuselage and control surfaces. This kind of noise is naturally directly proportional to the aircraft speed. That is to say, the faster the aircraft, the higher the noise. That's what we mean by being directly proportional. The higher the speed of aircraft, the higher the noise. It is also higher at low altitudes due to the density of the air. Oh, by the way, in the previous clip, we saw a word they call rarefaction. All right, that is a process of reduction of density of air. That that's what that word is simply conveying. When you say rarefaction, yes.
But what is the need? Reducing density of the air.
Well, it's part of
that is what the airplane needs.
Yeah, but yes, but it's part of the activities of also the jet engine. when they tear away and pump pressure into the air, it whittles down the density of the air. And of course, naturally again, there are some natural activities that affect the density of air. That explains why in some takeoff, if you're at the airport, you notice that sometimes the airplanes will take off with their wings in normal position, and other times you find out that the flaps are deployed during takeoff. Have you noticed that? That in some takeoffs you find the flaps deployed. It's all sensitive to the density of air. If the density of air is light at a time, then you need more pressure on the wings to help the airplane take to the skies. And so the pilots will deploy a certain percentage of the flaps to help really give them that air pressure required for takeoff. But if it's during a period that the air density is quite high, then you don't need those flaps. That's when you see the airplanes taking off with their normal wings in the normal position. So anytime you find flaps deployed during takeoff, know you that not two things are going to be happening: that the density of the air is quite light, and then two, that the plane is so loaded that it needs to be able to take off within a short distance. And so you do that to build up air pressure on the wings. All right. So let's move to that's how it works. Let's get to clip 6, please. Engine and other mechanical noise. The rotational speed and movement of the moving parts of aircraft engines and propellers of helicopters generate aerodynamic noise. You remember that of helicopter? You think it's all mechanical? No, the wind is biting through. It's also creating its own noise aerodynamically. Okay, right. While most of helicopter noise is aerodynamically induced from the main and tail rotors. You remember the one they call the torque at the tail of the. That's one is that takes care of the torque force that acts on the helicopter. You remember when I told you about helicopters? So that's the tail rotor for you. So the main and tail rotors. The mechanically induced noise usually come from the main gearbox and various transmission chains. This is actually referring to the helicopter. Unfortunately, we don't have our miniature here, so I could show you a few transmission chains, the main. During takeoff and climb, aircraft jet engines are responsible for much of the noise. However, due to the technological advancement in noise reduction, the airframe is known to be noisier during landing. Okay? Right. So let's move to clip 7, and take note, Joe, if you have anything that you want to be talking or asking.
Our time is really
okay. Let's run through very quickly. Just 2 more clips to go, and we'll be done. Noise from aircraft systems within cockpits and cabins of civilian and military aircraft. Pressurization and air conditioning systems are often major contributors to noise. Apart from aircraft engines and auxiliary power units, APU, other internal aircraft systems, like some specialized electronic equipment in military aircraft, can contribute to noise. Look at that airplane on the left photograph. You see it overflying,
very close
homes as it's touching down in Heathrow Airport, London. And then, of course, the helicopter is flying so low and with all its noise from its rotors. Now, clip 8 on the final clip for the day.
Yeah, but we need a system whereby such activities should be taxed. In such a way.
There's so much money to be made from different activities in a nation. We just have refused to make money as a nation.
Well, maybe if there's a time, you tell us how to make money from this.
I'm not going to give that free. That is an expensive consultancy. If they need me, they consult me, and I tell them how we can make money from all this.
We need to know.
as a nation.
We need to know.
Right. Okay, clip 8, Joe.
The last clip.
Yes. Health effects of noise. When we go to part 4 of this program next week, we're going to develop this a little further. But let's look at it very quickly, as an introductory. Health effects of noise. Studies have shown that elevated noise levels, that's the question you asked a moment ago, have health consequences. Some of the consequences include hearing impairment. Joe, you just mentioned that a moment ago.
Yes. For a man who is always
at
the wrong way,
it's confirmed to be
the aircraft, and he's there at,
they should be protected. They should be equipped.
That is produced by the aircraft, especially the Boeing 737. That man,
or when we used to fly,
have some sort of protection for his.
When we used to fly in this nation, Bak 111, the Russian Bak 111, that was one of the noisiest aircraft we ever had in this nation. But they are put away at the moment. It's not allowed to fly over our skies anymore. But I can tell you, Bak 111 still flies in Russia. I mean, you can do some hush kitting of the engines, and then you have them, really a little, reduced noise. It's all part of the technology that a lot of people are making money from. Hush kitting of engines is, I'm going to discuss that another time, because there's so much to talk about. 10 years running, we can do aviation without repeating a topic. Yes. But Joe, let's continue. Number two, hypertension. Number 3, ischemic heart disease, where you have blockages, in the blood vessels, and prevent blood from flowing into the heart. That's quite what you mean by ischemic, heart disease. Then annoyance. Noise can even make you a very unfriendly person, psychologically and mentally. And then, of course, it is said to create sleeplessness. These are what studies have shown, that excessive noise can do it to an average human being. And our brothers and sisters are working in our airports, taking all this in, and then I hope somebody's asking questions, and I hope they are going through some medical checks, and I hope they have the right gears to walk close to, to the noise. This is hoping. I don't know if anybody's casting his or her mind to the need to have this done. Quality of a Nigerian would just be the quality that we give to the society. And Joe, I keep insisting, it's not about money. We've got enough to fix it. It's attitude. May we change. Now, continue with clip 8, rounding it off very quickly. Although loss of hearing can occur naturally with age. Naturally with age, science is saying that loss of hearing can happen naturally. Although that is the situation, studies have, however, shown that impact of noise is sufficient to impair hearing over the course of a lifetime. Finally, airport noise has been linked to high blood pressure. No wonder a lot of people are falling, here and there. Joe, that will be it for today. My dear, wonderful viewers. Next week, we're going to continue with this awesome, series where we are taking through the, environmental impact of aviation. We'll be doing part 4, and a lot of exciting information will come your way. Be sure of that. We are working around the clock.
Before I let you go,
yes,
you have talked about some of the things, that may affect our environment. Of course, looking at the aviation. Let us also know. The one you talked about, how we can make money from aviation.
Joe, you are pushing too hard on that, but I am sorry to disappoint you. I'm giving a lot already free, and that's good enough. These other ones.
Now that we are talking about diversification of Nigeria's economy,
that's right.
Oil.
If they think something.
Sectors, now, can we also have? You may not give us details. You may not tell us how it will work, but what can we do to make money?
Joe, if anybody
aside the ones we already know in the aviation, what other things that we are not doing well that you think we should do and will make money?
Joe, if anybody thinks that you and I are spending our time creditably and well enough on this program, what makes sense is if they really want to get more and deeper information about things that can happen, is to consult us. And then we would give them some very deep information about how we keep saying, oh, we want to go and borrow money. We want to do that. We want to do this and that. And at the end of the day, money is sitting right in front of us like sitting dogs, staring at us, and we are refusing to rake them in. All right? It brings me to mind when the idea of creative economy was sold to this nation. Where are we? Some jamboree took place in Transcorp Hilton, and that was the end of the story. But that was somebody's intellectual property. But I will never discuss details because, like I keep saying to you, it's sub judice here at the moment. But we must.
It's already in court.
Yes. So we must be serious. We must really be serious. We've got good brains in this country, and we can do better than we are doing. But we need to change our attitude in governance, our attitude in appreciating what we have.
I must thank you for coming on the show this morning.
I appreciate it.
Next week, Monday, we shall also be here to look at same topic but part 4.
Part 4. Thanks.
Yes,
Thanks, my wonderful viewers. I love you all.
It has been with the #1 aviation freak in Nigeria, who also doubles as a licensed estate surveyor and valuer, who has gone to so many aviation programs and events in so many countries of the world, is Mr. Goddy Ike. And we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we shall be looking at the comment of a serving minister, Aisha Al-Hassan, of course, who pledged her loyalty to, of course, her godfather, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Let's look at the implication of that, especially as 2019 is by the corner. Stay with us.
Not his own.
Yes.
That the president, they all knew that some of them even opposed her, but the president